وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Inshallah, we will begin our program. First, we would like to start with a brief introduction on Siddiqa Institute. Siddiqa Institute was established in 2021 to the rising need for knowledge and awareness of Deen in society and lack of authentic opportunities available to women. Siddiqa Institute aims to provide a pleasant, motivating, and inspiring environment for women, leading to the understanding of the Quran and Hadith in its pristine form. Along with the Alamiya course, Siddiqa Institute took a strategic step to provide a diversified curriculum whilst providing a unified aim. Siddiqa Institute offers foundational courses, advanced courses, and his program, as well as the reading club. Inshallah, today's program will be about managing time, conducted by Mufti Abrar Sahib. We will have a brief introduction on Mufti Abrar as well before the program begins. Mufti Abrar began his Arabic and Islamic studies at Benedictine University while enrolled in a degree program in information systems. Simultaneously, he began Arabic studies at Dar al-Qasim. He later enrolled in a summer Arabic program at the Ma'had Ta'aleem al-Islam in Elgin, Illinois, upon which he decided to continue his studies in religious sciences and helped form the first batch of graduates from the Alim program. He thus had the good fortune to study under recognized scholars, including the renowned commentator of the Quran and former Shaykh al-Hadith of Darul Ulum Deoband, Maulana Muhammad Naeem, rahimahullah, under whom he completed the study of Sahih al-Bukhari. Mufti Abrar Sahab graduated from Benedictine University in 2006 with honors and a degree in information systems, while simultaneously pursuing his Islamic studies full-time. He completed his Alim course in 2007 and thereafter enrolled at Madrasa in Amiya in Camperdown, South Africa, to specialize in the field of issuing legal verdicts, fatwas. In 2009, Mufti Abrar completed his training under the tutelage of Mufti Ibrahim Desai, rahimahullah, a world-renowned jurist and expert in Islamic finance. He is also fortunate to have received authorization to narrate from 44 books of hadith. Mufti Abrar is the founder of American Fiqh Academy and is active in the field of research and issuing legal verdicts. In addition, he is the head mufti at Darul Ifta Chicago, where he trains ulama in the field of issuing legal verdicts. So inshallah, we will now begin the program, and I would like to pass the mic to Mufti Abrar Sahib.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي هداه والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وصحبه الذين اجتبى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لرجل وهو يعظه اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس شبابك قبل هرمك وصحتك قبل سقمك وغناءك قبل فقرك وفراغك قبل شغلك وحياتك قبل موتك. To brothers and respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd first mention that, I'm honored that I was invited to speak at this at the Institute, Siddiqa Institute, and it's my dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows this institute to thrive, for people to benefit, and for everyone's efforts to be accepted. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with a religion that is clear. The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clear. Allah subhanahu mentions in the Quran that tilka ayatul kitabil mubin, that these are the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are clear. And the message that was brought by the Prophet ﷺ was also clear. Allah mentions, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ, that if they turn away, the people don't listen to you, then your responsibility of Messenger of Allah ﷺ is to give them the clear message. Okay? Alhamdulillah, the book of Allah SWT is clear, the message of the Prophet ﷺ is clear. And if we look at the deen, if you look at the Quran, we look at the hadith, we look at the Sharia, it hasn't been left to generic messages and principles that we have to put in a lot of effort to try to decipher what they mean and how to apply them. Rather, the effort is in just trying to implement, because the messages and the instructions are actually clear from the Prophet ﷺ, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ, in the wealth of hadith, the Prophet gave us very specific, very clear instructions. And amongst those clear instructions was when the Prophet mentioned to benefit from 5 things before 5 things happen. Essentially, to benefit from 5 blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to value these 5 blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you have them, because you never know when and if you may lose them. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrates that the Prophet mentioned to a person while he was teaching him, admonishing him, giving him a wa'adh, or giving him a lesson, he said, "Ightanim khamsan qabla khams." That value 5 things before 5 things happen. The first thing the Prophet mentioned was shababaka qabla haramik. That value your youth before your old age. That the energy and the capability to maximize on good deeds that a person has in their youth, that person doesn't have in their old age. And this is why the Prophet, in a different hadith, the Prophet mentioned that there will be 7 people who will be given the shade from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. There will be no shade except for his shade. سَبَعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. And one of them that the Prophet mentioned was وَشَابٌ نَشَأَ فِي عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ. That young person who spent his time in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because the investment in one's youth is going to pay off in the hereafter. A person who avoided the heat of the fitnas of the youth and stayed under the shade of the Sharia, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save them from the heat of the sun on the day of judgment and will put them under his shade on the day of judgment. That there's a lot of what a person does within their youth is going to count and benefit them in the hereafter. So the Prophet mentioned that value that youth before you lose that. Second thing that the Prophet mentioned was وَالصِّحَّةَ قَبْلَ سَقَمِكَ. Value your health before your sickness. Now, there's a saying that الصحة تاج على رؤوس الأصحاء لا يعرفها إلا المرضى. The health is a crown on the heads of those who are healthy, but no one recognizes it except the sick. That those who are sick value and recognize the value of health, and that the healthy don't value it properly. Right? Similar to age, a person's abilities change with their health. A person sometimes doesn't value the ability to just put their heads on the ground in sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until Allah forbid they have knee issues and back issues and such that prevent them from now going into the sajda, and they have to now pray on a chair. The entire body so complex, right? All it takes is one nerve, one muscle somewhere that just takes away the peace of a person, that takes away the itminan and the sukoon that a person has, the ability to just be at ease from a person, taken away. Just one nerve somewhere, one muscle somewhere. Okay? The Prophet mentioned, value the health while you have it. No one knows what's going to happen. Value the health before sickness. Third, the Prophet mentioned was وَغِنَاءَكَ قَبْلَ فَقْرِكَ. Value your wealth before your poverty. Okay? Wealth, this is a fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a blessing and it's a favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. وَالَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created whatever is here for us. Right? This is for us. All the wealth and the resources are for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them for us. This is Allah's fadl on us. Allah's favors on us. And it allows for a person to benefit in the dunya and to be a means of benefit to others as well, through their zakat, through their sadaqah. And for a person to do so much in terms of religious work as well. This is why we know from even the hadith, some of the Sahaba who are not as financially well off would envy the Sahaba who are financially well off, because they said they're able to contribute and do so much more than we're able to do so. And even just for ourselves, if a person is financially stable and healthy, then even things such as like the ability to go and to take your family to go visit the Haramain, to go visit the Prophet. Okay? that to have that wealth is such a ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet mentioned that value it. Okay? Because no one knows what happens to their finances, right? A person may be financially stable, but we know of people who, although they're very financially stable, or they thought they were financially stable, but then they're affected by a fraud, or the market crashed, or job loss, or some health issue, or something of that nature, and then their financial condition completely changed. Allah SWT protect us all, and we never know what's going to happen. So the Prophet mentioned that value this while you have it. Okay? But also, we have to make sure that we earn it in a halal manner and we spend it in a halal manner. And if we do so, then we will also be amongst those people that the Prophet mentioned will be in the shade of Allah on the Day of Judgment. That person who will have the shade on the Day of Judgment, that will be a person who gives sadaqah, but not while posting it on social media and not like showing off, but rather that person does it in such a discreet manner, purely khalisan for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such that even the left hand doesn't know what the right hand was spending. Okay? So also mentioned your wealth before your poverty. Another one of the five that the Prophet mentioned was your life before your death. Okay? Death, is an extremely hard stop. There's no leeway whatsoever that comes with it. Okay? Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُم مِّن قَبْلِ أَن يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتُ فَيَقُولَ رَبِّ لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنِي إِلَى أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ فَأَصَدَّقَ وَأَكُن مِّنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. That spend from the wealth that Allah has given you. Right? Whatever wealth we have, where do we get it from? It was from the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given wealth, spend it in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's path before death comes to one of you, and then you say that, oh Allah, only if you give me a little bit more time such that I can give sadaqah and that I can be from the good people. But then Allah mentions, وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا وَاللَّهُ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to give any time, any respite whatsoever when your time comes. That for every single person, no exception, when that person's time has come, then that's it. There's no negotiation, there's no little bit of extra, there's no second chance, nothing. It's a hard stop. And once a person passes, all their actions finish. That there's nothing they can do at that point to make their scales on the Day of Judgment heavy. The only thing that matters is what was done in their lifetime. That sadaqah jariyah that they had done in their lifetime, those investments in the life benefit in the hereafter. And since we are in need of these good deeds in our graves, the Prophet mentioned that your graves are either a garden of paradise or they're a pit of fire, of the hellfire. All of us want that be a garden of paradise, but once we're entering the grave, there's nothing that we can do at that point to ensure it's this over that. Everything that makes that difference is what we already did before we passed away. Okay? So we have to value our lives before our deaths, because everything that will be necessary in the death has to come from what was done in the life. And then the fifth thing that the Prophet had mentioned was your availability before your unavailability, right? Your free time before you're becoming busy. Yeah? There's the poet mentions, حياتك أنفاس تعد فكلما مضى نفس منها انتقصت به جزءا. That your life is nothing but a numbered breaths. Okay? That your life, all of us, we were given X number of breaths. As all of us are inhaling, exhaling, we're breathing, that number of breaths that we were given at, when we were born, that number is decreasing. With every breath, that number is decreasing. Okay? And every time we breathe, we're getting closer and closer to exhausting that number that has been given to us and reaching zero. Every breath is just getting toward that end. Okay? That's all our life is. It's a numbered breaths that are on their way to being exhausted. Okay? And the Prophet mentioned Sahih Bukhari that ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathirun min an-nas. Okay, there are two blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, people just don't understand, don't value, and don't, they're lost in recognizing how huge of blessings these are. As-sihhatu wal faragh, your health and your free time. These are immense blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you look at our pious predecessors, they used their time properly, and hence they had so many accomplishments. If you look at the works of some of our ulama, Yahya ibn Ma'in, rahimahullah, a famous expert in hadith, he wrote 1 million hadith by hand. Can't remember like those pens, you dip it in ink and you write, and then you dip it back in ink. 1 million hadith by hand he wrote. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, wrote 500 books, many of them in multiple volumes. Muhammad Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahimahullah, wrote over 1,000 different works. Many of the scholars whom we know as giants in their legacies from what they left behind, if you look at their legacies, we think they must have lived like in their 90s and hundreds and beyond, from the amount of work that they did, from the amount of legacy that they left behind. But if you look at them, it's actually not the case. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, Sahib al-Madhab, he has an entire madhab that was formed with him. Imam Shafi'i passed away at the age of 54. If you look at Imam Ghazali, the amount of benefit that we get still from the works of Imam Ghazali and how his works are just unparalleled, he passed away at the age of 52. If you look at Imam Nawawi, Imam Nawawi's 40 hadith, Imam Nawawi's Riyadh al-Salihin, Imam Nawawi's commentary on Sahih Muslim, Imam Nawawi passed away at the age of 45. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, and considered from amongst the Khulafa Rashidun, from amongst the rightly guided Khulafa. In his time, it was such under his rule, the Muslim Ummah, they benefited so much that you couldn't find somebody to give your zakat to. There's so much prosperity. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, only lived till around the age of 40. His rule was only about 30 months, 2.5 years. That's it. The pious predecessors, the reason why they had so much accomplishment is because they valued their time. They knew how to utilize their time properly. Okay? Most people don't recognize the blessing of time. It's such an immense favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and such a huge blessing. That's why we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swearing by time and things that indicate toward time in multiple places throughout the Quran. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. Or وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. Or وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Or فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَقِ وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقَ وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا اتَّسَقَ. In so many different places, swearing by time or things or different parts of the day or things that indicate toward time. Or perhaps the most famous that we know of, that many of us perhaps must know of because a lot of us have the surah memorized. Allah says wal asr. Allah swears by time. And the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they would recite the surah al-Asr, before they would depart from one another. Why? Because it was such an important lesson there, and that they would remind each other of that before they would depart. Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he said that if a person thought about surah al-Asr properly, that itself would suffice for their guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah takes an oath on time to show that it's something of great value. If it wasn't valuable, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wouldn't have taken an oath on it. The fact that it's of value, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes oath on it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions time in different places as an example of His sign and His bounty on people. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ آيَتَيْنِ فَمَحَوْنَا آيَةَ اللَّيْلِ وَجَعَلْنَا آيَةَ النَّهَارِ مُبْصِرَةً لِتَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ لِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابَ وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ تَفْصِيلًا. Allah also mentions, the night and the day, and they're turning from one into the other, so that we're able to know the days and we're able to know the years. So these are signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Time itself is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's the capital of investment that a person has in their life. Right? With every second, their life decreases. With every breath, that capital decreases. And in the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Surah Al-Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows that this capital is to be invested and where it's to be invested. Allah mentions, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, that by the time that a person is just in loss, except for those who use it in a particular manner. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Those who believe and they do good deeds and they encourage one another on the truth and they encourage one another on patience. That time, this is the capital of life. This is money. Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah mentions the Ibn Adam, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ أَيَّامٍ إِذَا ذَهَبَ يَوْمٍ ذَهَبَ بَعْضُكَ. That O son of man, people, you are but days. That every day that passes, some of you has passed. Okay, meaning all yours is just made up of a number of days, and as each day passes, a part of you is gone, and eventually in your entirety will be gone. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, takes an oath on time to show the importance of time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oath is important. But what is that oath on? That the mankind is lost except for those 4 traits. Right? 2 of them are within a person, iman and a'mal salihah. And 2 of those are in their interaction with other people, right? The encouragement of haqq, the encouragement of sabr. Okay? And we understand that just as we invest our money, in a 401k so that we can get those benefits, in our old age, our time is to be invested for something that is beyond the old age then. That, the Prophet mentioned that kullu nasi yaghdu fabayir nafsahu famu'tiquha aw mubiqaha. That every person, that they're transacting in their time, they're transacting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentioned that's why in the Quran that ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adhabin alim, that oh, you believe, should I guide you towards a transaction that will save you from a painful torment, painful punishment. تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ويدخلكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ذلك الفوز العظيم. That Allah also mentions that believing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and going out in His path and spending from their wealth and spending from their lives. Also mentions that essentially this is like a transaction. What you do in your life, what you do with your time, this is like a transaction, such that if you invest that properly, then you're going to see the returns of that investment. Right? Allah mentioned, "Inna Allah ishtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahum al-jannata yuqatiluna fi sabilillahi fayaqtuluna wa yuqtalun." And also has purchased believers, right? Allah, we made this transaction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we, in this investment, just like we invest our money so that we can reap its benefits and rewards in our old age, and we invest our money, then we will reap the rewards of it in the hereafter. But this investment that we have, this capital for investment that we have, this time, it's a limited one, and it's constantly decreasing. Okay? The Quran, also implies for us to not waste our time in certain matters. Right? Allah mentions in the Quran, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Right? To rush toward the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمُعَةِ فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. That when the adhan for Jummah is given, then rush toward it. Okay? فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. That run and rush toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? That we are supposed to do certain things with expedience, with importance, without wasting time. Okay? And that's why if you look at a prior predecessors, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he mentions in Madarij al-Salikin that a person must have regret. A person must have regret over time that passes without him accomplishing his goals of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? That for every moment is an opportunity that cannot be made up. Right? This second is not last second. Okay? The next minute is not this minute. You cannot do twice the amount of things in that minute because you missed this minute. Every minute has its own time and its own responsibility and its own capabilities. You cannot make up for the time that's passed. Okay, and that's why Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he said that he says that two sayings that he benefited from where time is a sword. If you do not slay it, it will slay you, and keep your soul occupied with good, otherwise it will keep you occupied with evil. Right? Everyone mentions maximize your time, right? Know the value of time and maximize the value of your time. Okay? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu mentions that I've never regretted anything as much as my regret over a day on which the sun sets and my lifespan decreases while my good deeds have not increased. Right? That if a day passes and that day wasn't utilized properly such that our good deeds have now increased, then that's a day that we have to regret. Like, what did we accomplish in that day? Okay? And so, hence, some practical advices in terms of how do we ensure that we maximize and utilize our time properly. Okay, the first thing, okay, aside from just valuing your time, because you're not going to utilize your time properly if you don't value it to begin with. So beyond first and foremost, valuing your time. Okay. Once you value your time, now how to utilize it properly. Okay. Some practical advice is, first, just every morning, just pray 2 rakat, asking for barakah in your time. Okay. This is a tried and tested method, and try it for yourself. Okay. Before we make any effort, we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for success in those efforts. So as your day starts, ideally in tahajjud, okay, but if not in tahajjud, then as soon as sunrise happens and you can pray after sunrise, right in the beginning of the day, or as soon as you wake up, pray 2 rakat. Ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant barakah in your day, so that that day can be a day that's utilized properly. Okay. Second, okay, utilize the time after Fajr. The Prophet made dua for barakah in this time. Okay. Sakhr al-Ghamidi radiyallahu anhu, he narrates from the Prophet, he says, قال اللهم بارك لأمتي في بكورها. That the Prophet made dua that, Ya Allah, put barakah in my ummah in its morning time. Okay. That morning time, that after Fajr time, is a Mubarak time. There's a lot of barakah in that time. You can accomplish a lot more in that time. You can accomplish at any other time. That, you can't say the same number of minutes in that morning time or the same number of minutes at any other time in the day, because although it may be the same number of minutes, but the barakah is different. And that's where you're able to accomplish so much more in that time that you're able to accomplish another time of equal time. The Prophet, he mentions, Sakhr al-Ghamidi radiyallahu anhu mentions that the Prophet mentioned, or that he said about the Prophet that وَكَانَ إِذَا بَعَثَ صَرِيَّةً أَوْ جَيْشًا بَعَثَهُمْ مِنْ أَوَّلِ النَّهَارِ. That whenever the Prophet would send out an army, he would send it out in the morning time, because there's a barakah in that morning time. And about him as well, what Sakhr radiyallahu anhu says that وَكَانَ سَخْرٌ رَجُلًا تَاجِرًا وَكَانَ يَبْعَثُ تِجَارَتُهُ مِنْ أَوَّلِ النَّهَارِ فَأَثْرَى وَكَثُرَ مَالُهُ. It's narrated in Imam Dawud that, and Sakhr radiyallahu anhu himself, he was a merchant. So whenever he would send out his goods, for transactions, for business, he would send it out in the morning time, and he had a lot of barakah in his business. He had a lot of barakah in his wealth. Okay? That time is a Mubarak time. You will get more done in that time than you'll get done in other parts of the day. And it's also a time that has the least distractions. And also a time when you have the most clear mind. And it's also a good time to maximize rewards in some of your actions as well, to do some of your ibadat in their best manner as well. That, it's the best time for dhikr, it's the best time for Quran recitation. Allah mentions, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَىٰ غَسَقِ اللَّيْلِ وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Also mentioned in the Quran that وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. That the Quran at the time of Fajr, this is witness, right? This is a Mubarak time to read the Quran. Inshallah, you'll find more benefit in that time and utilizing that time even for ibadat, in addition to other acts as well, than any other time. Utilize that time. Don't let that time pass by just sleeping through it. Okay? Third, okay, minimize screen time. There's too much time wasted on screens. Okay, the average American spends over 7 hours a day looking at a screen. Okay, and according to a survey, in February of last year, nearly half of the respondents had stated that on average, they spend 5 to 6 hours on their phone on a daily basis. Okay, not related to work-related smartphone use. We're not talking about, hours spent because they're at work, they're at the job or such. No, outside of work-related usage, half the respondents said that 5 to 6 hours a day they spend on their phone. Okay? The average is around like 3 hours on the phone. Okay? And this isn't just a youth issue, like the teens are spending their times on their phone, or like the young, the young people, quote unquote, are spending time on their phones. No, right? The adults over 65, okay, according to one statistic, that adults over 65 spend over 4 hours a day watching TV. It's a complete waste of time. Okay? If you want to manage your time, minimize your screen time. Okay? Uninstall those games from your phones, right? Install screen time monitors and apps there's apps, sometimes now they're built into phones or you can probably, if they're not built in your phone, you can install other apps that do this, where you can set a timer and say, okay, I only want to spend 10 minutes on my social media app. And after 10 minutes, it'll lock you out. Okay. It helps you manage your time so that you're not wasting time just, scrolling through, social media and just, you follow hundreds of people on multiple social media platforms. You just waste all that time just following them. And at the end you say like, what did I really benefit? What did I get, right? What did I contribute toward the hereafter? What did I contribute toward my learning? And it's nothing. If you want to manage your time properly, minimize your screen time. Okay. Number 4. Okay. So pray 2 rakat in the morning, utilize the time after Fajr, minimize screen time. And then number 4, maintain a schedule. Okay. Maintain a schedule and stick to it. Know exactly what you do at what time in the day. You have to have a schedule, and then you maintain yourself to that schedule. It's the safest way to ensure that you accomplish what you want to accomplish in your day. But you need to be consistent in it. Nobody will respect your schedule if you don't respect your schedule yourself first. Maintain a schedule and be consistent on that schedule. A schedule helps you make sure you're utilizing your time properly, and it ensures consistency, because every day you know where your schedule is and you consistently follow that schedule, then you'll get a lot of benefit. The Prophet mentioned, Imam Bukhari narrates it, that سددوا وقاربوا واعلموا أنه لن يدخل أحدكم عمله الجنة وأن أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل. That the most beloved of actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, are the ones that are consistent. Okay? They're not the ones that are the most or the greatest. Right? It's that أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها. They're the ones that are most consistent. وإن قل, even if they're small. Even if they're small, even if you just only read Quran for 10 minutes a day, or just 1 page or half a page or whatever amount, okay? But you have a schedule and you do it at this time and you do it consistently. That consistency in the action, even though the amount of the action may be small, but that consistency is what's beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Abdullah ibn Sufyan mentions from his father, that قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أخبرني بأمر في الإسلام لا أسأل عنه أحدا بعدك. He said that, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inform me of something within Islam or something about Islam that I won't have a need to ask anybody else after you. Okay? Sometimes you'd have people who would come from farther out villages and tribes, and they would come to the Prophet and they won't be able to come on a daily basis or regularly. So they came and then they say like, tell us something that, when we go back, we can take this back with us, and that this will suffice for us. Okay? So he asked, tell me something that I don't need to then ask anybody else after you. So the Prophet told him, again, you must know that this is now must be something very important, because he's saying that just tell me something that then after you tell me this, I don't need to ask anybody else about anything thereafter. So this is something very important. So the Prophet then said, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. Say, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then have istiqamah. Okay? Have steadfastness, have consistency then. Okay? So maintain a schedule. It'll ensure you have consistency. Okay? It'll ensure that you accomplish in your day what you set out to accomplish in your day. Okay? And number 5, okay, prioritize tasks. Okay, you cannot have more than 24 hours in a day. So choose what you want to get done in those 24 hours. Okay, don't expect you're going to have more time in a day, or you're going to end up accomplishing more, but then still spend time, playing all the games on your phone and binge watching Netflix and scrolling through TikTok videos and whatever else. Okay, if you want to do all the things that you're doing at the moment and then still get a lot of things done, then you're not asking for time management. You're asking for like miracles and karamat, and I can't help you there. Yeah? No one can help you there. Yeah? You have to ask yourself before you do something that whether this is more beneficial than something else you could be doing. And if this is more beneficial, good. If something else is more beneficial, then do that instead. Do what is more beneficial. Yes, at times we just need a mental break, right? That's necessary. We need mental breaks. We just need to rest. Okay? But then see if you can combine that break with something else as well. So can you get a mental break while you play with the kids? To away from your work and away from other things, you need a mental break. Can you do that while you pray with the kids? Right? Spending time with family is also time well utilized. Right? Using your time properly doesn't just mean that you're just reading Quran and praying nawafil all the time. Right? There's things that are productive. There's things that are beneficial. Okay? So can you take a break through playing with the kids? Okay? Can you take a mental break through reading a book, right? Some Islamic or something productive? Can you take a mental break by just sitting down alone, but just making dhikr, reciting salawat, sending salam on the Prophet ﷺ? Just sit down, quiet, take a rest, but just make dhikr or recite salawat at the same time. Can you take a break, a mental break, through just sitting down and just not even reading anything, just thinking about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And just sit down, you're not doing anything, you're not reading anything, you're just thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. Allah subhanahu mentions, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. Allah talks about those, the ulul albab, those of people of intellect, where they recognize that in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are a lot of signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they spend their time, whether they're sitting, whether they're standing, whether they're lying down, they spend time just thinking about the creation of the heavens and the creation of the earth, and they think about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're moved by the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say, Rabbana ma khalaqta hadha batila. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you haven't created this without purpose. Right? That there's a purpose in all of this. Okay? That at times we're stuck in what would seem like they're unproductive states. Okay? But there's always a way to make every state productive. Okay? We're driving or we're commuting on the train. It feels like, I can't really do much at this time. Sure, you can. Just listen to something productive. Okay? Listen to talks, listen to bayans. Okay? Put your headphones on, listen to something. You're waiting at the doctor's office. Have a digital copy of a book or article or something on your phone, and you can read it, or you can listen to something, or just sit there and just do dhikr. Okay? Recite salawat. Right? There's never a reason just to be idle without doing something. Okay? You don't have to waste time. Every state, every moment can be spent in a manner that is productive. Okay? If you look at how our pious predecessors valued every single second of their time, Imam Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, the student of Imam Abu Hanifa, he was discussing fiqh issues while on his deathbed, even until the last moment. Okay? Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he said that at one point his side did not touch the ground, meaning he never laid down to sleep for some 2 years, that he didn't even lay down to sleep. Khatib Baghdadi rahimahullah, he's known to always walk while holding a book and reading it. Right? Some of our our pious predecessors like Ibn Aqil and others, they even chose what they ate based on how much time it took to chew on that food. Right? Meaning that they ate things that were easier and quicker to chew and eat, so that less time would be spent in eating. And some didn't even give time to that. Ubayd ibn Ya'ish, rahimahullah, was a teacher of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. He said that for 30 years, I never had time to eat at night. My sister used to feed me while I wrote hadith. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that everyone should mimic or replicate that, but you take from that the value that they gave to every single second of their time. Okay? How we utilize our time and what we do in our time affects our status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we use our time properly to strengthen our iman, to do good deeds, then we have the ability to be better than angels even. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ خَيْرُ الْبَرِيَّةِ. Those who believe and do good deeds, they're the best of creation. Okay? And if not, then forget being better than angels. Like we can be worse than animals. لقد ذرأنا لجهنم كثيرا من الجن والإنس لهم قلوب لا يفقهون بها ولهم أعين لا يبصرون بها ولهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل أولئك هم الغافلون. And Allah talks about people who will be in Jahannam. He says that they have hearts, but it doesn't benefit them. They don't ponder. They don't think. They have eyes, but they don't benefit them. They don't see. They have ears, but it doesn't benefit them. They don't listen. Okay? That they're like cattle. Like they're like animals. Rather, they're even worse. Okay? أولئك هم الغافلون. They are these people who are heedless. Okay? We cannot be heedless. Okay? We have to be very deliberate about how we utilize our time. because those who are heedless in this dunya will have regrets in the hereafter. والذين كفروا لهم نار جهنم لا يقضى عليهم فيموتوا ولا يخفف عنهم من عذابها كذلك نجزي كل كفور وهم يصطرخون فيها ربنا أخرجنا نعمل صالحا غير الذي كنا نعمل أولم نعمركم ما يتذكر فيه من تذكر وجاءكم النذير فذوقوا فما للظالمين من نصير. Also talks about the people in the hellfire and the punishments that they have, and they'll be screaming out to Allah that, Ya Allah, take us out from here so that we can go back and do some good deeds. But Allah also tells them that no, that did we not give you enough time? Okay? That we gave you enough time that it would suffice for somebody to take lessons from it, to know what to do. That we have enough time in our lives to invest it properly to benefit in the hereafter. Okay? That there's no excuse that we didn't have enough time. And that's why as we get older, we have even lesser of an excuse to waste time. It's mentioned in Imam Bukhari narrates a hadith that أعذر الله إلى امرئ أخر أجله حتى بلغه 60 سنة. Right? Allah SWT removes the excuse from a person when he reaches 60 years of age. That much time you had in your lifetime and you didn't invest properly for the hereafter, what excuse is there at that point? Okay? The things that the Prophet told us to value, okay, can all be valued if we value our time. Our youth before our old age, our health before our sickness, our wealth before poverty, our availability before our unavailability, our life after death. All these things you value if you realize the concept of time, the value of time, and how that time is just constantly decreasing and things change. The very first and most critical aspect of time management is to value the time. That's where a lot of people lack. It's just value the time. Okay. Once you do that, then yes, if you pray 2 rakat daily in the morning, asking for barakah in your day, if you utilize the time after Fajr, if you minimize screen time, if you maintain a schedule, if you prioritize and combine tasks, then you will have the same 24 hours as you always had. Not a second more, not a second less. But those same 24 hours now will be much more beneficial to you in this dunya and in the hereafter. We ask Allah SWT to accept us and to accept our efforts and for us to utilize our team, to utilize our time properly. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Inshallah, we will now open up to questions. So if anyone has any questions, you can type it into the chat box, and inshallah, Mufti Sahib will answer the questions.
There's a question on how to make a schedule. Okay? Again, this is something that we don't have to make into a complex effort. Just look at your day. You know that for example, you have to leave for work at 8:30 and you get back at 6:30, for example. Let's just say. Okay? So you say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 6. I'm waking up at this time, and then from this time to this time is for Fajr and for dhikr, for Quran. From this time to this time, then I know, okay, I have to get ready, I have to get the kids ready, I have to do whatever. Then I know from this time to this time is my work time. I come home, I know from this time to this time is dinner, is playing with the kids, and at this time the kids have to go to bed. At this time, then from this time to this time, I'm going to spend X number of minutes to read, or spend some time to do this instead or that instead, or you know your day, and certain things are already blocked therein, right? You have work, you have to drop kids off, you have to do whatever. The other time, start with that. What are you doing that time? And make a plan. Okay, a realistic plan. Don't say I'm going to read Quran. If you're not used to reading Quran on a daily basis, don't make a 1 hour plan for reading Quran every day. Make a plan, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Start with that. Okay, and you can modify your schedule eventually, and you can increase that time if you want. But make something realistic. Make something you can follow and stick to. Also allow for time where you say, okay, this is free, quote unquote, free time that you're spending still in a beneficial manner, where you're spending time with the kids, spending time with the family. This is your time when you are preparing meals, you're doing whatever. But even in that time, even if you're cooking, right? For example, you can listen to something. You're dropping off the kids, you can listen to something. Okay, on the coming back home after dropping the kids, like these are just know what you're doing in your day, so that you don't realize after you open up your phone, just say, let me check my phone, and then you saw one post and another post and the other video and the other video, and like these algorithms, TikTok and such are made such that like one thing leads to another. One YouTube video finishes and then it says here's a bunch of suggestions, or there's even autoplay on it at certain times. They're all meant to just keep you looped in, just keep you engaged, right? You don't want that. You just realize, okay, what did I do in the last 45 minutes? And you're like, not sure. I was sitting on my phone for the last 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Okay. If you know that, okay, from this time to this time, I'm supposed to be doing these things instead, then Okay? So don't make it a complicated effort. It's simple. Just start. Okay? There's a question around, what task should be given priority. It's, in general, things that have no benefit for your akhirah or even for your dunya, then those are like bottom of your list of priorities, right? Things that are of benefit to you in this dunya and the hereafter, those are the things that are of higher benefit or higher priority, right? Something that is helping you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something that you are, you say, am I comfortable speaking about this, on the day of judgment, right? That this is what I was doing in my lifetime. If that's something you're comfortable doing and something that you'd be proud to mention on the day of judgment, then that's probably something that's worth prioritizing in your life. Okay. And so, between tasks may be a bit subjective, but generally the concept you say is like, you look at things and you say, what's more beneficial, right? Like, what would I rather do so that I get more benefit, right? It's, for example, you take money. Okay. There's a bunch of different options of where you can invest the money. But what do? You say, okay, what's the performance of this mutual fund, of this stock over time? And how does that compare to the performance of this other fund over time? You say, well, this one's been performing better. Okay? That I can put my money either place, but this one seems to have better returns. Likewise, you can put your money toward, or you can put your time toward multiple different things. Just think about, where do I feel like I'm getting the best return, right? The best benefit for myself, for my family, for my dunya, for my hereafter, and you go based off of that. Okay? What do you do when you have a lot of high priority tasks all due around the same time? Okay. I mean, look, one thing that's necessary for success is practicality and feasibility. Right? Don't I mentioned earlier, don't make a schedule, right? Don't make plans that you can't accomplish. Okay. Don't try to go from one end to another in a time that that it's too fast for you to get there. Okay. Take simple steps. Okay? Take small steps and get there. Okay. Ideally, you don't have high priority tasks that all are due around the same time. Right? Ideally, you pace and you make plans and you do things such that they're practical, right? You can accomplish things in a time that allows you to accomplish them, so that you're not completely stressed out over a bunch of different things that all need to happen at the same time. Okay? Now, practicalities of life, certain time things happen. You do end up in situations where, yes, it is you do have to get a lot of things done at the same time or within a small frame of time. But these things should be sort of exceptional cases that come up every now and then. Right? They should, like your normal schedule, try not to make it such that you always have high priority tasks all due all at the same time. And if that's the case, then you have to see, like, even if they're all high priority, like what's the priority within those priorities? Yeah, this is if anyone in the work in the work field, that you always have plans for what you're going to make investments in, what projects you're going to do, and something will be $1 million project, and something will be a $3 million project, and you say, well, although that's good amount of money, but this other project is 7 million or 10 million returns, right? Say all of these things are important, but what's even more important, right? All of these things may seem like they're high priority, but what's an even higher priority, right? You may have to prioritize even within your prioritized tasks. Okay? But just make sure that when you make a schedule, when you make plans, when you make goals, okay, that you make them such that they are accomplishable. right? That they are attainable, that they are right for you, right? Don't overcommit. Okay, commit to an improvement, and then consistently improve. Inshallah. How to deal with distraction? The easiest thing to do is to cut off the sources for the distraction. Okay, so for example, if the distraction is that you get notifications that say, oh, so and so has posted, so and so has shared something or such, just turn off notifications on the app. Okay, or when you're sitting down and working, just put your phone on silent, or don't look at your phone. Keep your phone upside down so you're not always looking at the screen, or just put your phone away. Right? There's all these smartphones now are such that they really are really smart, right? Like you can really benefit from what's on your phone as well. Right? Like for example, there's different phones are different, but I know, like for example, some of the phones, you can, like the Bixby routines and such, right? You can put in rules that say, if even if somebody messages or somebody calls, just make it silent. Don't give me a notification. But if somebody calls 2 times in a row, then okay, then I know it's something more important and I should answer. And then in that case, make it audible. Otherwise, keep it inaudible. Like there's so much you actually can do on your phone. It's it can actually be very beneficial, but you have to ideally cut off the sources, right? If you're if you get a bunch of notifications and you get a lot of distractions about what are people posting, what are people talking about and such, just see, like, first, do you even need that social media app, or do you need to have the game on your phone even, right? Do you really need to follow 400 people on Twitter or on social, Instagram or wherever, right? Just think about, whom you're following, whom you're getting notifications from, like what's distracting you? How do you end that distraction, right? I've talked about like some of the app locks and such, that monitor the time that you've spent on certain app, and that automatically will cut it off after that time, right? So if you can't help yourself not waste too much time, then use the help of these these functions that your phone can offer, where it automatically will then say, hey, like your 10 minutes are up, done. Okay, so now you're done. Okay, now you've been helped to end that distraction. Question around like being steadfast is very difficult. Any suggestion to maintain steadfastness? Okay. Look, 2 things, right? One is that if we want to really value and utilize our time properly, okay, this isn't something that's an easy task necessarily. Okay, it's not easy. It is difficult, right? There are a lot of distractions. There are different people who may who don't necessarily have the same rigor in how we want to have in our schedule of how much we accomplish, and there's always going to be distractions from people, from from family, from like work, from other things. Okay, in one of the hadith that I mentioned, the Prophet says, "Saddidu wa qaribu," right? You make your effort, come close, okay? Do your best, okay? Just do your best. Okay, there's some things that will help you, like if you maintain a schedule, okay, then that helps you, right? And if you maintain a schedule and you respect your schedule, then people know that, okay, I shouldn't disturb this person at this time because this is the time when they do their reading, or this is the time they read Quran, or this is the time that they do whatever they do. Okay, people will respect your schedule because they know that you respect your schedule and you do it. But if you don't respect your schedule, if your schedule is always flexible, you can always swapping things around and say, okay, instead of me doing this in the morning, like I've said I would do, I'll just swap and I'll do this in the afternoon instead, and we'll just do this other thing in the morning. If your schedule is always loose and it's very fluid, then you won't get much done. You can't have that consistency. You can't have that steadfastness then. Okay, maintain a schedule, and it's a strict schedule that you follow. And obviously, like there's once the situations come up, times come up where you may need to have some flexibility, but on a normal basis, it's set and you follow it properly. And if you do that, inshallah, you'll find that you're able to, inshallah, to accomplish much more than you would be able to accomplish without a schedule, inshallah. No, I think that's all the questions, and I know we are we have a minute left. We're at time. So we'll just end. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الحمد لله إبراهيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا الأنبياء والمرسلين وصحبه أجمعين. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا ومحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا وسبيلا لمن اهتدى ولا تجعلنا سببا لمن ضل وغوى. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن الذين هم أهلك وخاصتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم الطف بنا في تيسير كل عسير فإن تيسير كل عسير عليك يسير. اللهم بارك في علمنا وبارك في وقتنا. اللهم تقبل منا. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Ya Allah, we ask that you bless us in our time. We ask that you allow us to spend our time in a manner that is beneficial for us in this dunya and in the hereafter. We ask that we spend our time in a manner that is pleasing to you. We ask that we spend our time in a way that will be a proof for us and a benefit to us in the graves and in the hereafter, and not something that will be against us. We ask that you allow us to spend our time that is spent in your rida, in your pleasure, and not in a manner that is displeasing to you. We ask that we spend our time in a manner that is utilizing your ni'mas and your blessings on us in a manner that is in accordance with your sharia, and not in a manner that we use your blessings in our time in a manner that is displeasing to you. We ask, Ya Allah, whoever are doing whatever efforts that they're doing to get closer to you, that Ya Allah, you bless those efforts and you accept those efforts. Ya Allah, those people who have set up this session, those people who have attended, those people who may be watching afterward, those people in the background who have facilitated and assisted or made dua for it. Ya Allah, everyone who participated in this in one way or another, Ya Allah, we ask that you bless all of them and you accept their efforts and you reward them, and that their time that was spent is time that they will see in their mizan of hasanat on the day of judgment. Ya Allah, we ask that this time that we have in our dunya is spent with iman, and the last moments when our time is ended with iman, and that the time in the hereafter, the eternity, will be spent in Jannah with the Prophet with the Nabiyyin والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكن من الخاسرين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خيرا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.